What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I am Alex, and I'm joined by an incredibly special guest. We've had him here before, but we're here to talk about something just a little different. Something, though, that Evan and I both share a pretty big passion for, and that's the Prototype franchise. So Evan, as I just kind of teased, is here. I'm going to leave his link in the description. You guys click his @, go to his channel. He's an amazing guy, just, generally talking. We were talking before we recorded this just about anything, but he makes incredible content as well. So if you guys haven't subscribed to him, please do it. Evan, thanks so much, buddy, for being on here.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. I could not be more thrilled to talk about one of my favorite game franchises of all time, especially seeing hopefully how it can continue in the future with Prototype.
Indeed, man. So Prototype is a very special franchise thing to both of us. I've talked about it a bit, but I want to hear you before we go into, kind of if it could ever come back, a Prototype 3 versus maybe a remake of the first game or rebooting it. But what's your, for those that don't know, like, what's your story? I know you're talking to me about the Prototype versus Infamous thing. How did you kind of get in? What was your tale with that stuff?
Well, what's hilarious is that I love Prototype so much because of how it's pretty much, in a sense, the definitive Venom game, like Spider-Man's main villain of Venom, with how it's open world. You have these crazy, pretty much symbiotic-like powers with the tendrils, the claws, the incredible super strength, and the amazing story, too, that's told with the Blacklight virus and the kind of mystery and what's going on with Alex Mercer, and also his story pertaining to Gentek and his history and lore and how it expands further into Prototype 2. And it's funny because Spider-Man Web of Shadows came out in 2008 as this symbiotic overrun Manhattan in a post-apocalyptic kind of setting for New York, or a middle apocalyptic setting where the symbiotes are invading from Venom and you have to take them out as Spider-Man. And this came out a year after that, which made it even more interesting to see that parallel of New York City is being overrun by these infected creatures, and you as this superpowered being have to stop them. And it's pretty much an M-rated version of Spider-Man Web of Shadows, but I love the series just from the storytelling, how Radical Entertainment did such a great job with the combat from the first game, evolving it into the second game, and of course their great background with Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction, another fantastic Marvel game. And I even bought the Biohazard bundle on PS4 and did a replay series on my channel through the first game, and I think a little bit of the second game as well, just because of how fun those experiences were. So I would love to see a next-gen remake of Prototype 1 if what we were talking about before the video started is the Activision/Blizzard deal decides to go through, and if they make that change or that decision to bolster the prominence of Prototype in the gaming community with a remake or a next-gen remaster of sorts, that will definitely get a lot of engagement from the general community.
For sure. You said it really well. I believe there's a community out there for Prototype. I think they exist. I think, I've even talked to you before. I do think these games sold. I think the story kind of with these games is they sold well, but they didn't sell kind of up to up to snuff of what they wanted at the time. But new age, new management really under what would happen here, right? If Activision Blizzard did this. So I really believe if this deal goes through, and we won't talk about, the controversy, Sony versus Microsoft, all that stuff. But, well, let me ask you, if it were to go through, right? So now, Microsoft would kind of be in charge, and Phil Spencer has talked about it where he would like to revive. Now, I don't think he's ever brought up Prototype as a franchise. He's talked about old, dormant franchises he would bring back. He's never said Prototype, but with the mentality that they'd be willing to look back at the catalog, do you think it would be, and we both had mentioned, just a easy, quote unquote, but like a Prototype 1 remake? I feel like it's right there. You still have that Biohazard, bundle kind of floating around. It goes on sale. It doesn't go on sale. Like, I feel like you could do a remake, or, because a reboot, I feel like would just be too risky because it may not work. Remakes oftentimes are a little bit safer. So do you feel like if Microsoft kind of has the keys, that Prototype would be a franchise that they look at and say, oh yeah, we can do something with this?
At this point, I think they just need to get the gears moving in general with delivering some quality games on their platform. I mean, recently, God of War Ragnarok, we already have announcements with Marvel's Wolverine, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, the Last of Us remake, the Uncharted series, just all these incredible franchises on PlayStation. And now The reason why we're bringing up the Activision Blizzard deal, for those who don't know, is that Radical Entertainment is part of the Activision Blizzard umbrella of game studios when they were working on the prototype series, which is why this could definitely happen if Xbox wants to take that initiative to make a really demanding game be a major presence on their platform to really get consumers looking at, you know what, maybe I should get an Xbox instead of a PlayStation with a prototype remake or a, from the ground up of sorts remaster to just get more people invested in the franchise, because there are a lot of diehard fans. I mean, even every day you see people demanding an Infamous remake to be built from the ground up for the PS5. And the same thing also goes for Prototype, because there are a lot of diehard fans for this franchise, which would not only love to see it be revitalized with a fresh coat of paint and possibly some new mechanics with a remake, but also expand and continue the franchise with a potential Prototype 3, with hopefully the return of Alex Mercer as the main protagonist instead of James Heller, who I do enjoy aspects of, but Alex Mercer was the main guy that I grew with and really came to adore in the first game. He did a really interesting turnaround in the second game as the main antagonist, but I do think there's a lot of lore and exposition that provides a lot of details about why he made that change. But again, continuing that, evolving that, expanding that further with the narrative into a potential third game on the Xbox platform as a potential exclusive, if they want to really get a hold on the rights for that game and that franchise as a whole, would really be a major money-making move for Phil Spencer and the entire Xbox brand.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think, well, those Dark Horse comics, right? That's the one that bridged the gap between 1 and 2. And I liked Alex's turn in the comics. Actually, they're one of the only kind of comic series that like are prequels or kind of middle of the road things that'll bridge the gap. They're one of the only ones I've ever read in my entire life, and I actually did overall like it, but I did not like, the just him going full on evil and all that stuff in 2. So the more story decisions to it. So yeah, I would. The thing with me is I guess I've kind of dropped the hope. I just feel like because of it's a different era and Radical's, no longer with us, rest in peace. I just feel like a Prototype 3 kind of feels like impossible. I'm always rooting for like the underdog or like these kind of like come from behind stories where you don't expect it and then it happens. So I think you and I would literally like be the pioneers of YouTube for Prototype 3. I don't think there's any question. I just don't, see, I think a remake would be a really smart move, or, if you wanted to reboot the franchise, I feel like you could do something like that. But yeah, I mean, the way Phil talks, and like you said, it just kind of gives them, because they're into Fable, and you got Starfield and Elder Scrolls. I mean, and because they're really into the RPG kind of side of things, they got so much coming, and it's going to be hopefully awesome to kind of balance it with a little just literally open world madness. And it would be kind of like their Infamous franchise, really, even though Sony's kind of dropped that. Maybe Ghost of Tsushima, it would be like their version to kind of combat that. I think it's a smart move. I think it's a really, really smart move. So let me ask you this, Evan. This will be what to close it out. What would you do? Like if you woke up one day, and because I've never actually thought of this, if you woke up and you saw it went through, Activision Blizzard happened, and they said like we're gonna remake Prototype 1. That's one of our first projects. Like what's the first thing that goes through your head?
Well, I have actually personally bought the Last of Us remake for myself because I did want to see, was this remake justified? And I have played a lot of other remastered and overhauled, refreshed games, like, of course, Spider-Man Remastered is another great example. And just to see what the true difference is between a game that came out a few years ago to a lot of years ago, and see how they can polish it for the modern day. And for the most part, those two examples with Spider-Man and The Last of Us are just more graphical enhancements. But you see that Prototype 1, even way more than Prototype 2, is desperate, especially another game like Infamous 1, desperately deserves a fully ground-up next-gen remake. We can easily see the first thing that they can take care of is enhancing the character models for all the characters in the game, all the NPCs, making New York look more lifelike, and also giving more details to the enemies, the infected, but also, again, the performances and the acting of the character models that we do see in the cutscenes with Alex Mercer, his sister Dana, all the
And
army
fixing those
individuals.
pop-ins. Remember those orbs, the red orbs that would pop in
Elizabeth
like
Green,
5
yes.
feet? Yeah.
Exactly. All the collectibles can get more refreshed too. Maybe they can add a different type of collectible in the city to explore and find that adds more lore to the city or the narrative. Again, the web of intrigue was such a good dynamic into the first game and how it incorporated the backstory of Alex Mercer and what's going on with the virus. And expanding that could be great, but also giving more maybe side mission depth to the city instead of just going from one main mission to the main story to the next with just killing infected as the main side missions. They could expand that, deliver more variety into the game. Maybe if they want to go even crazier, potential new powers that we didn't see in the first game that maybe were scrapped in development, or that could just expand more and offer more gameplay tactics to things like the claws, the whip fist, the blade, more moves instead of just the standard basic attack moves and heavy attacks. Maybe they could overhaul the combat in a way to make it feel more like Prototype 2, where in all the areas that Prototype 2 failed, the combat was not one of them. That was the best parts about that game, was how more fleshed out the combat felt. So taking all the best aspects from both Prototype 1 and 2, giving it that huge graphical overhaul to really make it more immersive and detailed, and just, giving more, again, of a revitalization of an older franchise that a lot of people are still heavily invested in, to just bring it back and revive it in a way that either new people, new audience members may have never played and have it be their first time playing it through a remake, or give that, super awesome fan service for diehard Prototype fans to finally dive back into this crazy world and experience the game in the way that it was meant to be experienced.
No, for sure. This game, I honestly feel that it would work better. I don't know if it would work better now than when it came out, but it would definitely work better now than maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. I really think just an open world, fun. It doesn't take itself. I mean, it does take itself seriously, but not not too seriously. It's not the most polished thing of all time. I really feel like this would work in the modern day, 20, 30 hours. You go in, you blow stuff up, you get out. I feel like that would really work nowadays. And again, it just kind of adds something different to Xbox just in general. And I think we just kind of assume like it would be an Xbox. I mean, they've talked about it. I think, Crash, Spyro, those are good. Those are going to be pushed and kind of removed from the PlayStation ecosystem and move to Xbox. So we'll see what happens with Prototype. So this was awesome. This was a lot of fun talking about a game that I think really does mean a lot to both Evan and I. Make sure, guys, you guys are subscribed to Evan. The link is in the description. You just click on it. It'll take you to his channel. Subscribe to him there. Thank you again, buddy, so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, Alex. I love Prototype, and I love talking about anything with you in all your videos and your amazing channel. So thank you again for having me, and I could not be more happy with the future of where Prototype could hopefully go down the line.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for joining me. Thank you guys for watching, both of us, and make sure you guys are subscribed to Evan, and we will see you all on the next one.